Here's my evaluation for the day. It's so easy to be average. You know it as well as I know it. You just practice, it's first day, cheering and all that kind of stuff, and I still saw average. It takes a little something to be special, Don. It takes a little something special to be a great player. We don't have enough great players. The hell with that! We don't want to coach average. I don't want to be around you. Why be around average? Did you push yourself to be great today? Did you do it? If you didn't do it, you lost today. We ain't got many days to lose. We're going to push your ass like it's never been pushed. Because what you got in you, we're going to find out, Kenny. I'm going to find out. And if there's a touch of greatness in there, how cool would that be? Let's go with John Simon. Break it down. Let's go. Go family on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Hello, my name is R.C. Caldwell. I'm with Caldwell's and Associates, and we are a licensed Shingo affiliate. And today, this training class is going to be about the Shingo model and how the Shingo model is very close to how NCAA championship teams lead their teams and how the model fits their development of their players, their culture, and their success. A winning model. If you are a CEO or of a small or medium-sized company, or you're a CEO of a large company that has plenty of plants, this model is fit for you. It's fit for leaders. If you're a plant manager and you have the authority to run your plant, the Shingo model fits if you want a winning team, if you want excellence and you want high expectations. That's what the Shingo model do. It provides you a roadmap to world-class excellence. How you can achieve it, how you can motivate your team, how you can motivate your leaders, how you can create a learning environment, an environment where people enjoy working and provide input and self-directed teams. The Shingo models gives you the insights for that. And this training video is going to help you understand the model and the components of the model. And it also is going to relate it to the NCAA champions. Urban Meyers at Ohio State, Nick Saban at the University of Alabama, Dabo Swinney at Clemson University. Those are the 3 role models and benchmarking that we're going to be using to show the Shingo model and how it relates and how it can relate to your plant and how you can win and have a successful, excellent team at the highest level, world-class excellence.
These introductions and hear the introductions that I get and makes me always think back to how did this all begin? And people don't remember some of the difficult times that you had, like my first season in Alabama 9 years ago. People don't remember that we lost to ULM. Do you even know what that stands for? University of Louisiana Monroe. And it was the most humiliating loss I think I've ever experienced. We turned the ball over 7 times. We played horrible. We had guys suspended for the game for behavior issues. All the things that we were trying to do to establish a program seemed to unwind, in this particular game. So this was a humiliating defeat. So after this, I always have to talk to the team. I have to go in and speak to the press, which I got hammered, that day. I had to do a TV show, a radio show. So do all these things. I'm about as low as I've ever been, ever in my professional career after this humiliating defeat. So I finally, 2 hours or so after the game, I get in my car, didn't have any gas in the car. So now all of a sudden I'm gonna have to stop and get gas, and I just wanna get home and hide. So on my way home, I stop at one of these self-serve deals and I go in, pump my gas, I go in and pay for the gas, and I have my LSU national championship ring on, because this is the first year we've been at Alabama. And when I'm paying the guy, he says, "Man, what is that?" I said, "Well, that's a national championship ring." And I said, "We're going to do the same thing here at Alabama." And he said, we'll never do it as long as that Nick Saban's a coach. So,
Welcome to Caldwell and Associates Shingo model and how it fits with the NCAA National Football Champions. Here's our agenda for the day. We're going to talk about a brief history of world-class excellence. Then we're going to talk about what is world-class excellence. And we're going to define operational excellence. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. And then we're going to talk about the NCAA National Football Champs and how they fit with the Shingo model, using that analogy. Let's start with the brief history first. First, there was motion and time study done by Frank and Lillian Gilbert. Then we had Henry Ford started assembly line process. Prior to that, cars was built in one spot and they built it completely. And Ford came up with assembly line. And then from the assembly line came mass production. And from mass production, after the war, Toyota and his associates came over to America, along with other Japanese companies, to see how we were doing business. So when they went back, Toyota came up with the Toyota production system. And he didn't do it and Tuichi Ono, which was the CEO at the time, he didn't do it by himself. He had help from Dr. Deming, went over there and taught him total quality management. And also Dr. Shingo. His probably most important, in my opinion, was SMED, Single Minute Exchange Die. And what that did was that allowed for the just-in-time production because it reduced the time to change dies. So Ford had all black cars. Toyota showed us how to do it, not only with black cars, blue cars, yellow cars, with the quick changeover. So in 1973, we had the oil crisis. And the oil crisis was the oil embargo. And Americans, and I can remember that time because I actually lived through it, Americans went to small cars. And when they went to small cars because they wanted to save gas, they found out that some of the Japanese cars, a lot of the Japanese cars were actually of better quality than America. And that's what started the Toyota production system being looked at and moved and more people using it. So about 1979, Honda was the first Japanese company to manufacture in Ohio, Marysville, Ohio. And in 1986, Motorola came up with Six Sigma quality. And the reason why they came up with Six Sigma quality is because in Six Sigma quality, 97% is 3%. But if you're making 1 million, and they were making beepers at the time, 1 million beepers, 3% of 1 million is 30,000 beepers they would be scrapping if they were at 97%. So they came up with Six Sigma quality, which means if you make 1 million, you only have 3.4, which is 3 beepers bad. So that's how they brought that in. Very important. Then from there, Jim Warmack and Daniel Jones came up with 2 books. One said The Machine That Changed the World. It was about Toyota. And the other one was Lean Thinking. The Lean Thinking book really took off. That's when people they coined the term lean. And that's when really in America, more and more companies and industries started doing lean. And that was about in 1996. And then from there, the Six Sigma. There was a time when Six Sigma and lean, which one's better? People realized neither was better. They were both equally good, and they combined them. That's where you got Lean Six Sigma. And now we're to the point now that if you're a global company and you're competing with companies that have better labor rates, or you're competing with some companies that have better technology. You need to have world-class excellence through your people, your equipment, your leadership, and your employees. Everybody involved needs to have that mindset. So that's the history. Now let's look at the formal definition. The formal definition of operational excellence is the execution of the business strategy more consistently and reliable than the competition. And if you think about that statement, what that statement is saying is, if you had two equal companies and they had the same strategy, the one that performed operational excellence and that type of performance will outdo the other company, even with everything else equally, because of the way they operated and the way they interact. And that's really huge with the Shingo model. Okay, the Shingo model looks at it and examine your organization and show you where your weaknesses are or where your strengths are and how you can elevate to that world-class excellence perspective and performance. So let's look at some examples. Here you can see Toyota. A lot of people in the industry recognize the Toyota production system. They've been doing it since 1945, and it's still considered a world-class excellence. There's been a lot of different reports I've read how their cost per vehicle is a lot lower than their competition. Okay, and they always have, even though they do have unions, they cooperate with their unions. A lot of the unions in Japan, in America, they don't, but people cooperate, they get on board, they hire the right people, their onboarding system is excellent, same thing. That's the type of thing you want in your organization. We got a couple of companies that have won the Shingo Award. Merit Metal in Tijuana, Mexico. Now this company, I've never been there, but I've seen presentations from their plant manager where they actually pick up their employees in Mercedes-Benz vans, and they're proud to do that. They also have free lunches in cafeteria from top-rated chefs. So that's part of the Shingo respect for the individual. Now think about that. You get picked up in a Mercedes-Benz bus to go to work. Now, how many times do you think those people are going to be upset about that or not want to go to work? Okay? That in itself says a lot about the leadership and how they respect the individual. Then we have DePuy Synthes. I actually had opportunity to work with that plant and Johnson & Johnson. They were Johnson & Johnson plant at the time, and actually Johnson & Johnson had 3 plants, and I've worked with all 3 of them and worked in all 3 of them. And that was my first introduction to the Shingo model. Every one of those plants, the people's attitude, you would talk to the guys on the floor and the ladies on the floor, and it was just a different, because it was our principles and our belief, and we used the credo. Our credo was in line with our performance, with our systems, and you could tell people, hey, listen, we're not doing that because it's not credo based, all right? Not to our guiding principles, like the Shingo model. Another company, as an example, is U.S. Synthetics. All right, they make diamond drill bits that they use in drilling for oil. And this company, I actually went there for training in the Shingo, and they got kanbans and information. People run their own work cell. They have work teams. It's pretty nice. It's awesome. Awesome place to be. But You know, if you've never been there, it's hard for you to believe what I'm saying, okay, about these companies and what they have and how the people feel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the NCAA football, national football champions as an example.
I don't want our players to ever walk off a field, ever, with a win and the so-called feel like a loss. Wow, how sad is that? The objective is to win the game. And, you know, I just, like I said, the fun's in the winning. And if it ain't fun to win, well, man, that's a sad state of affairs. And there's places like that. There's people like that. I mean, I'm miserable when we lose. I ain't going to be miserable when we win. I hate to lose. I hate to lose. Work too hard. But, yeah, I do understand that sometimes losing's a part of your success. It's a part of your growth. But when you find a way to get it done, I don't care if you win 70. What was the score of the A&M game of the night? 72-70 or something like that? What was it? 74? I guarantee you them A&M, they were jacked up to win. And that's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of things they got to do better, lots of things to fix, lots of things. But you won the game. You won the game. I mean, I know what losing feels like. I got a very clear picture of that. It's much better to win. And I've never coached a perfect game. I've never had a team play a perfect game. It doesn't matter. We can win by 40 points. There's always something to coach. There's always something to do better.
The first champion doing the playoff, we started the playoff in the season of 2014, and Ohio State won, okay? And they were coached by Urban Meyer. And then the next year, Alabama won, and they were coached by Nick Saban, okay? And Alabama actually won in 2015 and 17. And then after Alabama won in 2015, Clemson won, okay? Dabo Swinney, he coached them. Now, what they have in common is all three of those coaches are equivalent to plant managers. And all three of those coaches will tell you they have a culture, all right? When coming in to their organization, they have a culture that they believe in, okay? A way they can coach. In the whole 5-year span, all three of those teams have been in the hunt. Matter of fact, the year that Clemson won in 2016, they beat Ohio State, okay, in the playoffs. So the importance of that leadership is Urban Meyer and Nick Saban not only done it at Ohio State and Alabama, Urban Meyer did it in 2008 at Florida, and Nick Saban did it at LSU. So, and those two schools have not won it since. So that's the importance of the leadership of a plant manager or a general manager. That's the role you would play, okay? You would play that role. But as you know, as a general manager and plant manager, you still need backup, right? So the school administrators, all the way to the president, to their board, must be on board too. Because there's things equipment and things that they use that those coaches don't have authority to get. So let's look at I'm using Ohio State. Ohio State have core values. Okay, here's a list of their core values. I won't go through them. The point is, they have core values. So let's look at the Shingo model. The Shingo model has guiding principles, okay, equivalent to a lot of companies' core values. You can call them core values. You can call them guiding principles. The reason why we call them guiding principles is because we want to make sure that we have 10 principles that we use. And the reason why is we want to make sure that all of them the right ones are covered.
Sure. So it doesn't really matter what your vision is. could be to climb Mount Everest. You know, Michael Johnson spent 1,000 hours on affecting his time in the 200 meter so he could win a gold medal in the Olympics. 1,000 hours he invested. So it doesn't really matter what you want to accomplish or what you want to do. You have to have a vision for it, and then you have to understand, here's a defined process of things that we need to do to be able to accomplish this. So I don't care, again, if you climb Mount Everest, if you want to improve your track time, you want to win a championship in football, you want to have a more successful business, it doesn't really matter. But the most important thing, and where people fail the most, is you have to have the discipline to execute it every day. So what is discipline? And I'm sure you've heard doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, the way it's supposed to get done, right thing, right way, right time, all the time. But really the way I define it, and I think everybody in here can relate to this, I know our players can relate to it because we all do it 100 times a day. And we've probably already done it at some point today. Here's something that I know I'm supposed to do that I really don't want to do. Can you make yourself do it? And over here, there's something that you know you're not supposed to do, but you want to do it. Can you keep yourself from doing it? Well, this sort of moral code, that we all make decisions and choices about every day is what helps us stay focused on the process of what we need to do to accomplish the vision that we have. I mean, it's easy to figure out. Let's just say the simplest example is I want to go on a diet. I want to lose 10 pounds. That's my goal. That's my vision. Slim fast, clearly defined everything that I'm supposed to do. Where do we fail? After 3 days, back to eating pie and ice cream.
So let's just walk through. First, we have respect for an individual, which is one of the culture enablers. And then you have continuous improvement, all right? Because you want an atmosphere where you're continuous improving. And then we have enterprise alignment, okay? Where you're looking at thinking systematically, okay? So you're not guessing or going from your gut, okay, leading from your gut. You're systematically thinking. And then we have results that are customer focused results, okay? The next element of the Shingo model is systems. And this is highly important because your system, what drives your culture, and must be in line with your guiding principles. And a lot of companies, that's where they fall short, is their guiding principles, all right, and their systems are not aligned. Their system must be aligned. Like when I worked at Johnson & Johnson, our credo, when our system wasn't in line, we got it back to our credo, okay? So if you look at football, like for instance, Alabama, their coaching and their training is aligned with their core values. We're going after the national championship, and we're going to be committed to that. And we're going to work hard. We're going to work harder than everybody. We're going to also practice like we're playing a game.
So, and the purpose of this camp is help you to improve as a player. You are going to do a lot of the things the same way that our players that play for us do those things. And we're going to have the same expectation from a character and attitude standpoint in terms of how you compete and what you do. So I want you guys to know something. We're going to expect you to give effort, have enough mental toughness to persevere and sustain what we're asking you to do, and be responsible enough to execute and do it the way we're asking you to do it. Now, none of those three things take any ability. You guys understand what I'm saying? It doesn't take any ability to give effort. It's a mindset. It's an attitude. I'm going to finish the drill. I'm going to go as hard as I can go. I'm going to give effort. I'm going to do the best I can at what I'm trying to do from an effort standpoint. Mental toughness, guys. It's hot outside. Nobody needs to say it again. It's going to be difficult. But when you do things that are difficult, that's what helps you get better. You have a better standard, a better capacity to work and invest your time in things so that you can improve and get better. So you can't think about the negative things. You've got to think about the positive things of what you're trying to accomplish so that you can go out there and finish things and not get the poor me's about how you feel or how hot it is or something that's affecting you that's outside of you.
So that's what they do. They align their coaching and training systems to their guiding principles of winning that championship. The next thing they do is their practice systems and their play is always the top. They want the top players. They want the top players to perform at the top level, and they will substitute in and out. People will lose their first position on the field based on the performance of their practice, okay, and their play. It happened to their quarterback. They've had to move quarterbacks have left them, and they still continue to win. Improvements. How many times have you ever watched after an interview of any one of those teams, and they beat a team like 50-2 or 50-7, and you listen to the players will say, well, we had a good game, but we got a lot to improve. How do you have something to improve after you just beat somebody 50-7? But they're going after perfection, right? How many times that happened at work? You know, at work, you want to go for perfection, all right? At your business, you want it to be like that. You want people to, hey, we got to the customer on time, they were happy, but hey, here's a list of things that we need to improve, all right? So in management, your management systems, you have strategic deployment, all right? That's a system. Another example of a system is new product introduction, new product development, and your production product, okay, where you're actually producing parts. Those are systems that you should constantly improve. Then you have work systems, okay? Your work systems is like your first year of your plan execution from your strategy. Your pilot phase work is actually from your new product production system. So that's the actual work system when they're going through the pilot phase and they're actually doing it, okay? And then the actual work on the production floor is your work system. So Shingo model lets you look at both of those two systems. And then finally, do you have improvement system for all those? Even your accounting system, I didn't mention that, but do you have an improvement system for that? In marketing, the Shingo model looks at that for you. Make you think about it, make you work on it and say, how do we get that? How do we make that happen? Then the last thing is tools. Now let's go back to the football analogy. Those guys we have a standard Shingo model that we use to kind of make sure you're doing all the steps. So let's see if that steps works with football. Number one, standard work. Their standard work is done in practice and also in the game, all right? And just like our standard work is done in accounting when we're delivering payroll, those type of things, standard work. Do we have standard work? Then what they'll do is, in their report system, is videotape it. Videotape practice, videotape games, all right? So that's their, and then taking statistics on those. You got the video, you got the numbers, you got the data, all three together, okay? And then from there, that gives you an opportunity to review it. Review the videos, review the numbers with the players, the same thing you would do. How many times have you videoed an office transaction? I've done that. be amazed at what you find out when you see a copier that's supposed to be printing out a report take 20 minutes to do because the report's so long. Okay, that's amazing. If you look at, and that's part of that waiting, right? There's got to be a better way. Then from there, you can do your review and you can go into scheduling. Like on the football field, they always looking at when we're going to make that improvement, how we're going to make it. Same way in industry. Schedule your improvements. Map them out. Make sure to put timing on it. And then lastly, log all the improvements. Football coaches are logging all of them. That's why they have position coach. They have a coach for the ends. They have coach for defensive back. That way they can log all those improvements for each individual. All right? And that's the same way we should do for each department throughout the organization, throughout the enterprise. Also in industry, we have Lean Six Sigma tools that we can apply. Caldwell's and Associates work with master black belts, and lean senseis. We can help you there. Those are areas that you need to be lifted up, and we will work with your Lean Six Sigma experts, your black belt, the people that have black and green belt. We can even train you in that, in those tool sets. So we can help you there. Culture. The foundation of making this system work. In these three, Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson, they all have winning cultures. Right now, every last one of those schools are undefeated in the current football season. And they're bidding again to compete for the national championship. That's because they have a winning attitude throughout their organization. There are three things that you'll see there. One is it requires championship attitude and commitment from everyone. Players, coaches, assistants, the executive team, okay? The same thing. They all must believe that they can win a national championship. You can't come in there and have some disbelievers, all right? You got to have, in this, you have to have 100%. In industry, if you have 80%, you're going to move the other 20%, correct? Or they're going to end up having to leave over time because they're not going to fit in. They're not going to be comfortable, okay? Because this is a journey. Just like these guys have been doing it for 5 years, they'll tell you, it's still a journey. They're still on the path of championship. And then all must work for perfection. The same thing in our Shingo model. So let's look at the Shingo model, the enterprise excellence. There's three things. Number one, ideal results require ideal behavior. And that's moving that needle on the culture, okay? That's lining up your guiding principle, your system to your guiding principles. And then the guiding principles going to your customer service and your customer focus, okay, results. And then you have purpose and system drive behavior. So what your purpose, which is part of your guiding principles, drives your system, and it drives that behavior, creating that culture, the right culture, that high-performing culture. And then the last thing, principle inform ideal behavior, okay? So we're looking at that ideal behavior. It's very, very important to seek that, okay, and take care of your people so they will perform that way and give you their input. And last thing is the results. For Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama, their results come through in national championships, okay? And that's what they seek. What world-class excellent are looking at two things. Their KPIs, which is in line with their customers' value, okay? Their KPIs, which is key performance indicators. You got to make sure they're correct and customer driven. And then what the Shingo model talks about is KBIs. And KBIs are key behavior indicators. A lot of companies, you don't have that. You really need that to make sure you have a positive culture. And we can show you how to get there, okay? Caldwell's an associate, be glad to come out and help you get there. And let's go back and recap. Achieving operational excellence through the Shingo model. And what we say is world-class excellence is what you got to believe it, you got to ask for it, you got to talk about it, you got to go for it. Because if you don't do that, you won't never get there. So, in the Shingo model, and you look at this model, the guiding principles are on top. And then they are aligned to your system, which drives those guiding principles. And then from the guiding principles, you got these results that's driven. Okay, that guiding principle is driving that because it's going to affirm your results. Okay? And then your tools, you reach for your tools when you need them. They enable your system. That's key. You don't rely on the tools until you need them. All right? And we can help you there. All right? And your tools will also help you achieve your results. That's why some companies work with tools only and they still get some results. But if you want the high performance results on a long-term basis, you must have a good culture with great ideal behavior, okay? And that's going to give you those world-class, excellent results. Okay. Again, you got your principles, your system, tools, driving your culture, and your key performance indicators and key behavior indicators. So that concludes our training of the Shingo model and how it relates to NCAA football champions. I hope you enjoyed it and had fun listening and learning. And if you need anything from Caldwell's and Associates, please check out our website at www.caldwellassociatesexcel.com. And have a blessed day.